a country, we can now produce tires. Tires are produced here. They used to be imported. We are assembling TVs. We have now started assembling electric motorcycles and vehicles. As you know, Kila Motors is ongoing. We have a huge list of the products that we are producing here since 1986, and we are making very, very good progress.
As the Ministry of Trade directs focus to import substitution and export promotion, put at the forefront is the realization and utilization of the regional markets like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area with a $62 billion GDP and a market population of 1.3 billion people, also projected at 2.5 billion people by 2050, the East African Community with a population of about 400 million people, and the AGOA, which David Bahati, the Minister of State for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, further highlights about.
You recall, during the Bill Clinton administration, we signed an agreement with Americans to export their quota-free and duty-free 5,400 products. And we are making those small progress, but at least now we can export 30 products out of the 5,000. We also have preferential agreements, trade agreements, with China, with Japan, and European Union. But to access these markets, we must improve the standards of our products. And that's the reason why we are investing in Uganda National Bureau of Standards.
However, the productive capacity of the African people is critical, which calls for proper capitalization and utilization of the 1.3 billion Africans. The AFSA Secretary General, Wamkele Mene, calls for intra-trade and preference of the African-produced goods in order to industrialize Africa, in turn creating jobs that are a major issue in the continent.
1.3 billion Africans relying for their food security on grains imports that come from another part of the world. 1.3 billion people. When correctly so, the paper that was presented informs us that we have over 60% of the world's arable land. So we rely on a country of 43 million people for Africa's food security, to feed Africa. Part of the problem that we are facing is, for so long, for over 65 years, we have had this fragmentation of the rules that actually prohibited intra-Africa trade in basic agricultural products.
As access to these markets calls for production of quality goods, regional testing laboratories have been set up in all regions of Uganda, as SMEs are also provided with capitalization schemes to solve the challenge of the high cost of capital.
We have increased the staffing of UNBS. We have increased the infrastructure in terms of laboratories across the regions of our country. And also, we are helping to certify small medium enterprises who don't have the capacity to raise money to get certification with UNBS through different avenues of financing to satisfy them so that they can produce products.
Given the potential of the continent, the chronically low contribution of Africa to the global GDP, well below $5 trillion, is quite concerning. Uganda ranks 8th in the world for coffee production, but it does not bring in even $1 billion. The private sector is working relentlessly to increase the value of coffee to at least $3 billion. According to Richard Mubiru, a board member for the Uganda Manufacturers Association, intra-Africa commerce is just 15% of what it is for the rest of the globe, which necessitates the development of comprehensive policies to promote trade.
We're talking about 54 countries, with a population of almost 1.5 billion people as of 2021. And of course, in terms of agro-production, we are talking about a continent that has almost 900 million hectares of land, with only less than 300 hectares under cultivation, which presents a very unique opportunity in terms of food production into the future. We have a very young population across the board. 60 to 70% of our population on the continent is anywhere below 35 years, as already highlighted, and therefore, the very reason why we should really be worried if we don't plan for their future.
Ugandans are urged to utilize the capitalization programs provided by the government, for instance, loans availed in the Uganda Development Bank, the Microfinance Support Center, Parish Development Model, as well as the Agriculture Facility Trade Provisions. Margaret Nachiganda, Business Today.